What if everything you've told yourself this year is a lie? The stories you've sold yourself as reality, they're cages, and you hold the key. There are three things that cannot long stay hidden: the sun, the moon, and the truth. Right now, you're drowning in a sea of half-truths. I'm fine. I'll change tomorrow. This is just how life is. But that shadow in your gut, it knows you're lying. What story are you clinging to just to survive the day? This isn't another self-help pep talk. This is a reckoning, because in 2025, the lies you've buried won't just haunt you, they'll own you. Your chaos, your burnout, that voice whispering, "You're stuck," it's not bad luck. It's the cost of a life built on illusions, but there's a way out. Ancient Buddhist warriors mastered 10 brutal principles to shatter delusion and rebuild from the wreckage. If you take one thing from this video, let it be this: stop lying to yourself. That's the key to every door. And there is a powerful bonus lesson. At the end, it rewires how you see reality. Number 1, kill your illusions. You wake up every morning looking in the mirror, telling yourself the same old story. I'm fine. I'll change tomorrow. I don't have time. But deep down, you know the truth. You're stuck, repeating the same patterns, trapped in illusions you've built for comfort. Lies feel safe. They protect you from pain, from accountability, from the weight of truth. But what if I told you that every excuse, every false narrative is a chain holding you back? The Buddha taught that suffering comes not from the world, but from the illusions we refuse to let go of. Your mind is a blacksmith's forge. What you put into it determines what you become. And right now, you're pouring in deception, expecting strength. Imagine a blacksmith at work. He takes raw metal, full of impurities, and thrusts it into the fire. The heat is unbearable, but necessary. With every strike, he forges something stronger. This is what truth does to you. It burns away the comforting lies, the self-deception, the false identity you've built to avoid pain. It's uncomfortable, it's terrifying, but it's the only way to become unshakable. Ask yourself, what lie do you tell yourself every day? That you're too busy, that it's not the right time, that you can't change? The problem isn't time. The problem isn't the circumstances. The problem is you, choosing the illusion over the truth. The moment you confront it, everything changes. Because the truth doesn't just set you free, it shatters the version of you built on lies. Think about this. What's the real reason you haven't changed? Is it fear? Is it laziness? Or is it because deep down, you enjoy the illusion more than you desire growth? Pause here. Be honest. Write down one truth you've been avoiding. Most people won't do this. Most will continue living the same way, telling themselves the same stories, hoping things will magically change. But hope is not a strategy. Action is. And action begins with truth. Burn away your illusions. Step into the fire. Because only when the lies are gone can you forge the life you were meant to live. But let's go deeper. Why do we cling to illusions in the first place? Because the truth is painful. It forces you to admit your flaws, to confront your weaknesses. It strips away the comforting narrative that one day things will get better. The Buddha said, "The root of suffering is attachment, and there is no attachment stronger than the one we have to our own self-deception." You might say, "But what if I fail? What if the truth is too painful?" That fear is another illusion. Failure is only failure if you stop trying. The truth will hurt, but it will also heal. It will force you to take responsibility, to wake up from the dream you've been living in. Right now, you have a choice. You can either keep lying to yourself, keep pretending that everything is fine while your potential slips away, or you can face the fire, forge yourself into something stronger, and finally live the life you were meant to. The truth is your greatest weapon. Use it. 2. Become a mirror. You tell yourself, if I just had more time, I'd be happy. If work wasn't so demanding, if life slowed down, if things were different, then everything would be fine. But have you ever noticed that no matter how much time you have, the mind always finds another reason to be restless? You reach one goal, and suddenly another problem takes its place. You fix one part of your life, and another feels broken. The truth is, the problem isn't time. The problem is your mind, constantly running, constantly chasing. Buddhism teaches that the key to inner peace isn't found in controlling the outside world. It's in observing the mind without distortion. Like a mirror. A mirror doesn't argue with its reflection. It doesn't judge, resist, or try to change what it sees. It simply reflects. But most of us don't live like mirrors. We react. We cling to emotions, believing every passing thought as if it were the absolute truth. We let anger, fear, and insecurity distort reality, just like ripples disturbing the surface of a still pond. Imagine a quiet lake at dawn. The water is still, perfectly reflecting the sky. But the moment a stone is thrown, ripples distort the image. The sky is still there, the truth is still there, but the distortion makes it seem like something is wrong. This is how your mind works. Every emotion, every unchecked thought is a ripple disturbing your inner clarity. When you believe your thoughts without question, you lose sight of what's real. You mistake passing emotions for permanent truths. Ask yourself, how many times have you thought, I'm not good enough? How many times have you told yourself a story about why you can't succeed, why you can't change, why happiness is always just out of reach? And yet, how often have these thoughts actually been true? You are not your thoughts. You are the observer behind them. But unless you learn to separate yourself from the stories your mind tells, you will always be controlled by them. Here's a challenge. Take 2 minutes every day to sit in front of a mirror and observe your thoughts as they come and go. Don't fight them. Don't analyze them. Just watch them. Like a mirror reflecting reality without distortion. In those 2 minutes, you'll realize something profound. Your thoughts are not permanent. They come, they go, and they don't define you. Most people never take the time to observe their own mind. They move through life reacting to every emotion, every impulse, every fear, as if they are absolute truth. But the moment you step back and watch your thoughts, instead of being controlled by them, you reclaim your power. You become the still pond, the mirror, the observer. Now, look at your life. Where have ripples distorted your vision? What emotions, what unchecked thoughts have shaped your decisions, your fears, your beliefs? Pause here. Reflect. Can you spot the lie in this scenario? I'd be happy if I just had more time. The truth is, happiness is never about time. It's about clarity. And clarity only comes when the mind is still enough to see reality as it is. If you want to change your life in 2025, stop lying to yourself. Become a mirror. See yourself clearly, because only then can you begin to live with true freedom. 3. Feed your demons. You spend your life running from fear, from shame, from the parts of yourself you wish didn't exist. You bury your insecurities under distractions, push your anger down, pretend your pain isn't real. You tell yourself, if I ignore it, it will go away. But does it? Or does it keep coming back, stronger each time? The truth is, what you resist persists. What you try to escape will chase you. The only way to be free is to stop running and face what you fear. In Tibetan Buddhism, there's a powerful teaching called feeding your demons. Instead of fighting your inner struggles, your anger, your fear, your doubt, you invite them in. You listen to them, you understand them. Imagine a starving wolf at the edge of a village. You can try to chase it away, but hunger will always drive it back. The more you resist, the more desperate it becomes. But if you feed it, if you meet its hunger with understanding, it no longer needs to attack. It softens, it transforms. Right now, think about the fears that control you. Maybe it's the fear of failure, the fear of being alone, the fear of not being enough. Instead of pushing these thoughts away, what if you asked them, "What do you need from me?" What if instead of treating your fears like enemies, you treated them like messengers? Because that's all they are. Parts of you that have been unheard for too long. When you resist them, they scream louder. But when you listen, they lose their power. Try this. Take a piece of paper and write a letter to your fear. Ask it, "What do you need me to hear?" Write without judgment. Let it speak. Maybe your fear of failure tells you, "I just want you to stop pretending you're perfect." Maybe your anger says, "I only exist because you never let yourself express pain." Maybe your shame whispers, "I'm trying to protect you from being hurt again." When you stop seeing these emotions as enemies and start seeing them as parts of you that need healing, something changes. The fear stops controlling you. The wolf stops attacking. You might be thinking, "But if I feed my demons, won't they grow stronger?" Number. The opposite happens. When you finally turn toward them, they stop being demons. They become teachers. They show you where you've been avoiding the truth. They guide you to the parts of yourself that need attention. The Buddha taught that suffering comes from clinging and aversion, grasping at what we want, running from what we fear. But freedom comes from acceptance. Pause for a moment. What's one fear, one demon you've been avoiding? Write it down, look at it, ask it what it needs, and then, for the first time, listen. Because once you stop running, once you stop fighting, you'll realize something life-changing. Your demons were never here to destroy you. They were here to set you free. 4. Burn your maps. You've spent your whole life following a map, one drawn by society, expectations, and fear. You were told that if you followed the right steps, life would make sense. Get the right job, find the right partner, achieve the right goals. But what happens when the map doesn't lead where you thought it would? What happens when life takes a turn you never planned for? Most people panic. They cling to their map, trying to force a path that no longer exists. But the truth is, maps are only useful when the landscape stays the same. And life is always changing. Imagine a ship sailing through the open ocean. When it's close to shore, maps are helpful. They show landmarks, safe routes, clear directions. But the farther it sails, the more unreliable those maps become. In deep waters, the only way to navigate is by the stars, by something constant, something beyond the shifting tides. Your plans are the map. Your values are the stars. And if you keep clinging to the map, refusing to adapt, you will drift aimlessly, lost in frustration and fear. Right now, think about a rigid goal you've set for yourself. Maybe it's a 5-year career plan. Maybe it's the idea that you need to be married by a certain age. Maybe it's the belief that success must look a certain way. Now ask yourself, are you following this path because it aligns with who you are, or because you're afraid of the unknown? The Buddha taught that attachment is the root of suffering, and few attachments are as powerful as the ones we have to our own expectations. The most successful, fulfilled people aren't the ones who follow a rigid plan, they're the ones who adapt. They understand that life isn't about controlling every outcome, but about responding with clarity and wisdom. Instead of obsessing over specific goals, they focus on values. Instead of saying, "I must achieve this exact thing," they say, "I will prioritize growth, integrity, and connection, no matter where that leads me." Here's a challenge. Delete one rigid goal from your life. Just one. Instead of, "I must get this promotion," replace it with, "I will commit to excellence and learning." Instead of, "I have to be in a relationship," replace it with, "I will build meaningful connections." By shifting from fixed plans to guiding values, you free yourself from the suffering of unmet expectations. You stop resisting change and start embracing it. Pause here. Look at your life. Where are you holding on too tightly? Where has your attachment to a plan caused you stress, disappointment, or self-doubt? What if, instead of fighting reality, you learned to flow with it? The ocean doesn't apologize for changing tides. The stars don't change just because you wish they would. Burn your maps. Follow your stars. Because when you trust yourself enough to navigate without fear, you'll realize something powerful. There was never just one path. There was only ever the journey. 5. Dance with chaos. You try to control everything, your future, your relationships, your emotions. You plan every step, thinking that if you can just hold life tightly enough, you'll be safe. But no matter how hard you try, life refuses to follow your script. Things fall apart, plans collapse, people change, and instead of adapting, you resist. You fight against the chaos, clinging to what was, terrified of what comes next. But here's the truth. Chaos isn't your enemy, it's your teacher. In nature, wildfires are destructive, unpredictable, unstoppable. They tear through forests, reducing everything to ash. But what happens after? The soil becomes richer, new trees grow, stronger than before. Without destruction, there is no renewal. Without endings, there are no beginnings. Buddhism teaches that impermanence is the only constant. Everything you know, everything you love, will change. And yet, instead of embracing this truth, most people fear it. They see chaos as something to be avoided, instead of something to dance with. Think about your own life. Where are you resisting change? Maybe you're holding on to a job that drains you because you fear uncertainty. Maybe you're stuck in a toxic relationship because the thought of being alone scares you. Maybe you refuse to let go of an old version of yourself because stepping into the unknown feels too risky. But what if the chaos you fear is actually making space for something better? What if the wildfire isn't destroying you, but preparing you for rebirth? You have a choice. You can fight against change, exhausting yourself in a battle you will never win. Or you can dance with it. Instead of saying, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What is this teaching me?" Instead of fearing uncertainty, embrace it as raw material for your transformation. The most powerful people aren't the ones who avoid chaos. They're the ones who know how to move with it. Pause here. Look at your life. Where are you clinging to control instead of dancing with change? What would happen if you let go? If you surrendered to life's flow instead of resisting it? The strongest trees don't break in the storm, they bend. The most resilient people don't fight the fire. They rise from the ashes, dance with chaos, let it shape you. Because when you stop fearing change, you start becoming unstoppable. 6. Die before you die. You spend your whole life building an identity, crafting a story about who you are, what you stand for, and how the world should see you. You hold on to labels like armor, successful, intelligent, kind, strong. You cling to past versions of yourself, even when they no longer fit. because the idea of losing them feels like death. But what if that's exactly what you need? What if the only way to truly live is to let your old self die? In Buddhism, there's a concept of ego death, the shedding of everything you think you are to discover what lies beneath. Imagine a snake molting its skin. The process isn't gentle. It doesn't slip off easily. It stretches, it cracks, it peels away layer by layer. It's painful, but necessary. Because if a snake refuses to shed, it won't grow. It will suffocate in its old skin. The same is true for you. If you refuse to let go of outdated identities, if you grip too tightly to who you were, you will never become who you are meant to be. Think about it. What parts of your identity are you clinging to out of fear? Maybe you refuse to admit when you're wrong because your ego says, "I have to be right." Maybe you chase external success because you believe, "If I'm not achieving, I'm nothing." Maybe you hide your pain because you've convinced yourself, "I have to be strong." But these are just stories. They aren't you. The real you exists beyond these illusions. The real you is not your titles, your achievements, or your reputation. The real you is the awareness that watches all of it come and go. Here's a challenge. Write an obituary for your ego. Here lies the person who needed to be perfect. Here lies the version of me that sought approval. Here lies the identity that was afraid to change. Let it go. Mourn it if you must, but don't cling to it. Because the moment you stop holding on so tightly, something incredible happens. You become free. Pause here. Ask yourself, what outdated identity are you still carrying? What would happen if you let it die? Because in the end, the only way to truly live is to release the illusion of who you think you are. Die before you die. Shed the skin that no longer fits, and watch yourself be reborn. 7. Break the spell of time. You live in two worlds that don't exist. One is the past, a prison of regrets, old wounds, and moments you replay over and over, hoping to change what's already gone. The other is the future, a mirage of worries, fears, and expectations that keep you restless, waiting for a moment that hasn't arrived. You tell yourself, "I'll be happy when I have more money. I'll feel at peace when I fix my mistakes." But life doesn't wait. And the more you chase the past or the future, the more you miss the only thing that's real, this moment, right now. Imagine an hourglass. Grain by grain, the sand slips from the top to the bottom. You watch it fall, panicking as time escapes you, gripping at something you cannot hold. But what if you smashed the hourglass? What if you stopped measuring time in days, months, or years and started experiencing life in moments? Buddhism teaches that time is an illusion. It is not something you have, it is something you are. The past is a memory. The future is a dream. The present is the only reality. Think about the last time you truly lived in the moment. Not worrying about tomorrow, not drowning in yesterday, just here, completely. Maybe it was a quiet morning, feeling the warmth of the sun on your face. Maybe it was a deep conversation where time seemed to disappear. Maybe it was the simple act of breathing, fully aware of the air filling your lungs. That is presence. That is life. But most people are hypnotized by time. They believe they are running out of it, that they must chase something before it's too late. This is the greatest lie. The clock ticks only in the mind of the unprepared. Those who are present never feel rushed, never feel behind. They understand that life isn't something coming, it's something happening right now. Here's a challenge. For one day, practice radical presence. When you eat, just eat. Taste every bite. When you listen, truly listen, without waiting for your turn to speak. When you walk, feel the ground beneath your feet. No distractions, no rushing, just presence. Because when you break the spell of time, you stop surviving and start living. 8. Emptiness as fuel. You've been taught to fear emptiness. Silence makes you uncomfortable. A blank schedule feels like wasted time. The moment there's a gap in your day, you reach for your phone, turn on the TV, or fill the space with noise. You tell yourself that productivity is purpose, that staying busy means you're moving forward. But what if that's the greatest lie? What if emptiness isn't a void, but a beginning? In Buddhism, emptiness is not nothingness, it is pure potential. Imagine a hollow bamboo. Because it is empty, the wind can pass through it, creating music. If it were solid, there would be no sound, no movement, no creation. Your mind works the same way. When you are full of distractions, expectations, and constant stimulation, there is no space for new ideas, no room for clarity. But when you embrace emptiness, you allow something deeper to emerge. Most people resist this. They avoid silence because they're afraid of what they might hear. They fear stillness because it forces them to face what they've been running from. So they keep filling the emptiness, hoping distraction will keep the truth away. But truth waits, and the only way to find it is to sit with the space you've been avoiding. Think about the last time you had a moment of stillness. Maybe it was standing in the shower, and suddenly a solution to a problem appeared out of nowhere. Maybe it was sitting quietly, and for the first time in weeks, you felt peace. These moments happen when you stop cramming every second with input. The greatest wisdom doesn't come from adding more, it comes from making space. This is the paradox. The more you fill your mind, the more scattered you become. The more you empty it, the more clarity you gain. But modern life convinces you that stillness is laziness, that doing nothing is wasted time. This is why people wake up feeling exhausted before the day has even begun, because their minds have never known a moment of true rest. The body sleeps, but the mind never stops running. But what if you stopped? What if, instead of cramming every minute with work, entertainment, or worry, you allowed yourself the gift of emptiness? What if, for just a few minutes each day, you sat with nothing, not meditating, not planning, not consuming, just existing? Here's a challenge. Spend 10 minutes in pure emptiness. No phone, no music, no scrolling, just sit. At first, it will feel uncomfortable. The mind will scream for stimulation. But if you stay with it, you'll notice something miraculous. Ideas will surface, emotions will settle, and clarity will emerge. The mind will begin to process what it was too cluttered to understand before. Because emptiness is not your enemy. It is your fuel. It is the space where something new is waiting to be born. And in a world drowning in noise, those who embrace emptiness will hear the only thing that truly matters, their own inner wisdom. 9. Turn poison into medicine. Pain is inevitable. Suffering, however, is optional. Every hardship, every betrayal, every failure, these are the poisons life hands you. But poison itself isn't the problem. It's how you use it. In Buddhism, suffering is not seen as an enemy, but as a teacher. The difference between those who are destroyed by their pain and those who grow from it is simple: the ability to transform poison into medicine. Imagine a scorpion's venom. In large doses, it can kill, but in controlled amounts, it becomes medicine, used to create healing treatments that save lives. The same principle applies to your suffering. The pain you carry can either consume you or sharpen you. The heartbreak, the rejection, the failures, these are not meant to weaken you. They are meant to awaken you. but only if you stop running from them and start using them. The problem is, most people waste their pain. They sit in resentment, replaying the same stories of betrayal and disappointment. They hold on to their suffering like a badge of honor, proof of how unfair life has been. But ask yourself, what good has that done? Has your suffering made you wiser, or have you let it make you bitter? Have you used your pain as fuel to rise, or have you allowed it to be an anchor dragging you down? In Buddhist philosophy, suffering is not something to escape, it is something to work with. The moment you stop resisting your pain and start learning from it, transformation begins. This is why some of the world's most powerful people have endured the deepest suffering. They did not avoid their pain, they studied it, they let it teach them, and in doing so, they turned their poison into strength. Think of the person you were 5 years ago. What was your greatest struggle back then? Now ask yourself, did it destroy you or did it shape you? The fact that you're here now, listening to this, means you survived. But survival is not enough. You must go beyond that. You must use what hurt you to build something greater. The question is not, why did this happen to me? The real question is, how can I use this? Here's a challenge. Take one painful experience from your past and find the lesson in it. Write it down. What did it reveal about you? What did it teach you about others? How can you use that knowledge moving forward? Because the truth is, every wound carries wisdom, every scar tells a story, but only if you choose to see it. Stop wasting your suffering. Stop letting it control you. Use it, alchemize it, transform it into wisdom, resilience, and strength. Because in the end, the most powerful people are not the ones who have never suffered. They are the ones who took their suffering and turned it into something unbreakable. The poison life gave you can either kill you or heal you. The choice is yours. 10. Seek wisdom, not validation. Everywhere you look, people are chasing validation. The likes, the comments, the applause. It feels like proof that you matter. But the problem is, validation is a leaky bucket. No matter how much approval you pour into it, it will never be enough. One day, you're on top of the world, admired and praised. The next, the crowd moves on, and you're left empty, wondering why their applause no longer fills you. If your sense of worth depends on the approval of others, you will always be at their mercy. Buddhism teaches that true fulfillment comes not from seeking validation, but from seeking wisdom. Imagine a mountain and an echo. The mountain stands firm, unshaken by the winds, rain, or the noise around it. The echo, on the other hand, exists only in response to something else. The moment the noise fades, the echo disappears. Most people live like echoes, shaping their actions based on how others will perceive them. But the wise become like the mountain, rooted, solid, and unmoved by the fleeting opinions of the world. Think about the last time you changed your behavior because you feared judgment. The last time you hesitated to speak your truth because you worried about what others would say. The last time you chased success, not because it fulfilled you, but because it looked good to others. That's the trap, living for validation instead of wisdom. When you chase validation, you lose yourself. When you chase wisdom, you find yourself. Here's a hard truth. No amount of external approval will ever be enough if you are empty inside. You can accumulate followers, compliments, and admiration, but if you don't respect yourself, none of it will matter. That's why the great masters sought solitude. They understood that wisdom isn't found in the crowd. It's found in silence, in reflection, in the courage to follow your own path, even when no one is watching. What would happen if, for one day, you stopped seeking approval? If you made decisions not based on what others would think, but on what you knew to be right. Here's a challenge. Do one thing today that you will never post about. Something meaningful, something real, just for you. Let it be a test. Can you act without seeking recognition? Can you be at peace, knowing no one will applaud? True power comes from within. The moment you stop chasing validation, you become free. Free to think, to act, to live on your own terms. Free to stand firm like the mountain, unshaken by the noise of the world. Because in the end, echoes fade. But wisdom, that lasts forever. Bonus principle: the mirror of absolute honesty. Lying to the world is easy. Lying to yourself, that's the real prison. Every excuse, every justification, every carefully crafted illusion. These aren't just stories you tell yourself. They're chains. Chains that keep you from seeing reality as it is, from breaking free, from becoming who you were meant to be. But here's the truth. You are not separate from the truth. You are it. The only reason you feel lost, confused, or stuck is because you've buried it under layers of deception. The moment you stop running from it, everything changes. Imagine a sword trapped in stone. The stone is your illusions, the false narratives you've built about who you are, what you can't do, why you're not enough. The sword is your truth, sharp, undeniable, powerful. Most people spend their entire lives chiseling away at the stone, afraid to grip the handle and pull. But the only way forward is through absolute honesty. Not the gentle, comforting kind, the brutal kind, the kind that burns away delusion and leaves only what is real. You've felt it before, that moment of clarity when the noise fades and you know, deep in your core, what needs to be done. But then, fear steps in. Fear of change, fear of discomfort, fear of losing the lies that have kept you safe. So, you push the truth aside. You tell yourself, not today. But here's the hard question. If you died tonight, what truth would haunt you for remaining unspoken? What dream did you abandon because you told yourself it was impossible? What person did you love but never had the courage to tell? What part of yourself did you suppress just to fit in? Buddhism teaches that the mind is like a mirror. It reflects everything but holds on to nothing. The problem is, most people don't want to see their true reflection. They prefer the distorted version, the one that lets them stay comfortable. But growth isn't comfortable. It requires looking into that mirror with absolute honesty, no matter how painful the reflection might be. And here's the paradox. The more you do it, the easier it gets. Brutal self-honesty rewires your mind. The more you tell yourself the truth, the more natural it becomes. It's like building muscle memory for authenticity. At first, it's painful. Then, it becomes power. So pull the sword. Face yourself. Stop pretending you don't know what needs to change. The truth you've been avoiding isn't out there. It's already inside you, waiting to be unmasked. The only question is, will you have the courage to see it? Quick summary of the 10 principles. Kill your illusions. Self-deception is the root of suffering. Confront the lies you tell yourself, e.g., I'm stuck, to reclaim power. Replace comfort with brutal honesty. Become a mirror. Observe thoughts without judgment. Detach from emotional reactivity to see reality clearly. Practice daily mindfulness to cultivate neutrality. Feed your demons. Face fears and insecurities head-on instead of avoiding them. Engage with inner shadows to dissolve their control over your actions. Burn your maps. Let go of rigid plans. Embrace uncertainty by aligning with core values, not fixed outcomes. Flexibility fuels resilience. Dance with chaos. Chaos is not your enemy. It's the catalyst for growth. Lean into instability, to discover creativity and strength. Die before you die. Shed ego-driven identities, e.g., the perfectionist, to experience rebirth. Freedom lies in releasing who you think you are. Break the spell of time. Stop obsessing over past regrets or future anxieties. Presence is the only moment where life happens. Emptiness as fuel. Void is not lack, it's potential. Use stillness and space to create meaning rather than chasing distractions. Turn poison into medicine. Transform pain into wisdom. Suffering becomes purposeful when you extract lessons, not excuses. Seek wisdom, not validation. Prioritize inner growth over external approval. True power comes from aligning with your truth, not others' expectations. The mind is everything. What you think, you become. Every lie you tell yourself is a brick in the prison of your suffering. These 10 principles are not just teachings, they are hammers to shatter those walls. Imagine waking up in 2025 as the architect of your destiny, not its prisoner. Zen masters say, when you reach the top of the mountain, keep climbing. Transformation isn't a finish line, it's a daily rebellion against complacency. The chaos you fear? It's the universe asking, how badly do you want to be free? Your darkest thoughts are not enemies. They are unlit bonfires waiting for the spark of awareness. To die before you die is to realize that every ending, every failure, every loss is a doorway to a truer self. The obstacle is the path. Your exhaustion, your doubts, your restless mind. These are not flaws. They are sacred signals urging you to stop lying and start living. The only way out is through. If this video stirred something in you, act, like, share, and subscribe to Deep Wisdom for more journeys into peace. Drop a comment. What lie will you stop telling yourself today? Your truth is the first step to a life unstoppable.